I don't think we give the right enough credit when it comes to immigration, because their whole thing is using immigration and the fear of what it might mean for national security, the economy, wages as a tool to scare people into voting for them, because they're the ones who are actually going to be tough against immigration and cut those numbers. Whether it's Nigel Farage screaming that we're at breaking point or Donald Trump saying, build that wall. But the right are the biggest drivers of immigration and the problems they say are caused by it. Because one of the reasons Western countries need immigration and continue to allow it in high numbers is because we don't have enough young people to run the economy that can support all the people who are currently retired. And that's a problem for the US and the UK. And why don't we have enough young people? Well, because in the US and in the UK, we simply aren't having enough babies. And why aren't we having enough babies, which is making us reliant on immigration? Because we simply can't goddamn afford to. But we're the West. We have, all the money in the world, so how can we not afford to? Oh yeah, that's right. The money is all hoarded at the top, so it's not we, us, who have the money, it's the rich. And so in order to fix that, you would need policies that would be aimed at redistributing wealth so that the people at the bottom could also afford to have kids. And what do conservatives say about that? Oh yeah, most of them are heavily against it. Meanwhile, the general UK population is 5-2 in favour of taking from the rich to give to the poor. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage and the Reform Party are planning to cut the amount of tax that the super rich pay, and Trump is also promising tax cuts for billionaires. But what about their main attack line, that immigration drives down wages, because with more people it gives employers the upper hand because they can simply hire whoever's willing to work for the least amount of money. And so it's really all about who has the power, the employers or the employees. And so you'd think that after Brexit, which they sold as a way to stop immigration, they'd be all about giving workers more power, right? Instead, when working class people like nurses and teachers demanded better wages, people like Nigel Farage accused them of being part of a left-wing conspiracy. And that's not even mentioning the damage that Brexit, which was pushed by the right, has done to family finances in the UK. It's almost like they want to keep working class people poor so they can continue to paint immigrants as a threat to their livelihoods. So the right kind of needs immigration to stay in business, which is why after Nigel Farage won the Brexit referendum in 2016 by saying,
"There is nothing we can do to stop unlimited numbers of people from EU countries settling in this country and enjoying the same rights and privileges as all the rest of us."
I not only got him to admit that that was a lie, but I warned him directly that if he went through with Brexit, immigration would likely go up.
Article 7 of the EU Citizens' Rights Directive, which says that in order to come here without a job, you need to have sufficient resources to not become a burden on the social assistance system of the host country and have comprehensive medical insurance.
Femi, in theory, you're right. In theory, under European treaties, there are restrictions that can be placed.
Logically speaking, if the EU has restrictions on immigration and the UK hasn't been implementing them, leaving the EU would mean more immigration.
Which is exactly what happened. And yet Nigel Farage is taking advantage of that to tell people that he, again, is the answer to high immigration numbers, because he thinks we're all stupid. He knows what immigration means to this country because I told him.
Do you accept that a population that has risen beyond anything we've ever seen in this country before has put massive pressure on the National Health Service?
I'd say that EU migrants make up 5% of the UK's population, and yet they make up 10% of our doctors. So rather than EU immigration being something that threatens the country, it is literally keeping it alive.
Again, I was proven right, because the loss of the EU free movement of workers meant that the work path for EU doctors to the UK became harder. And yet despite his policies damaging our National Health Service, Nigel Farage takes advantage of that in order to call for its privatisation.
And I think we're going to have to move to an insurance-based system of healthcare.
When it comes to national security and immigration and the fear of Muslims out there, surely the biggest factor in our national security is how many people are there out there who hate us. Well, right now, the right is currently supporting the unaliving of tens of thousands of innocent Muslims in the Middle East by selling weapons to people who are currently wanted for war crimes. No, I don't just mean this guy. We have been doing that for 10 years with Saudi Arabia and Yemen. We're talking 300,000 people, mainly using weapons sold by us in the West. You remember how Wanda Maximoff's whole motivation for hating the Avengers and the West was how a Stark device destroyed her whole town. And it didn't matter who actually fired it because Stark was the one who sold it. Well, how many people across the Middle East now have that experience because of the right? So it cannot be overstated the extent to which all the issues that the right wants to blame on immigration are actually issues that they have created themselves. They are printing their own votes.